Chef Joe with Healthy Kids Inc. and today we're going to be making pork chops with garlicky kale. You've got the layer of fat on one side of your pork chop, and all we need to do is score that. There's not a whole lot of fat on these chops, but a lot of chops you'll find will have an even thicker layer. So what you want to do is take the tip of a sharp paring knife or a larger knife if you feel comfortable, and just sort of score along the fat. Doesn't have to be precise, but just a couple of centimeters in. And what that will do, it will allow that fat to render better. You can even make some cross incisions, especially if you have a chop like this that doesn't have a whole big layer of fat. And that'll just kind of help that fat to render down. So you're not exactly cutting deep enough like you would for a butterfly. We're just kind of scoring the fat layer. Help it to render down. Alright, so there we go. Alright, so now we're ready to continue with our pork chops and garlicky kale. We've got a saute pan heating up over here with just a little bit of oil in the bottom for our garlic and kale. And we have our pork chops that we prepped earlier in a baking dish. We've got a little bit of oil on the bottom and a little bit of oil on the chops with salt and pepper seasoning. We're going to put them into the oven at 400 degrees for 5 to 6 minutes. These chops are extremely thin, so you want to watch them close. If you have a thicker chop, just increase the time. You want to cook them all the way through. And we're going to pop these in and do the rest while these are working. Okay, so I'm going to bring my heat up over here. I've got this saute pan with just a touch of oil, very little oil because we're going to use butter. We put the oil in so that it doesn't burn, and the butter is for flavor. So we're going to put 2 pats in, let it begin to melt. And we have our sliced apples here that we will saute in this butter, and we're going to top our pork chops with those when they come out of the oven. If you have a thicker chop, you can saute your pork chops in a pan, brown them on both sides, don't cook them all the way through, and then transfer them to the oven, and that'll really help you a lot if you have a thick cut pork chop or a bone-in pork chop especially. Okay, so now I'm going to begin to saute some of our apple slices. Apples and pork are a classic combination, so any way you combine them, even if it's applesauce, always goes great with pork. And you can use really any type of apple you want here, whatever your preference is. So we're going to let those begin to saute. Going to hit them with just a touch of salt. Okay, we also have sage that we'll throw in just a couple of minutes. Slowly begin to saute our garlic as the heat comes up so that it doesn't burn before we throw in our kale. Okay, so our garlic is beginning to kind of saute. Add just a little bit more oil for our kale. Better to add too little than have to add more than it is to add too much in the beginning. I'm going to put these in. You want to watch for popping because of the moisture inside of the kale. So just kind of watch that. It may look like a lot in the pan right now, but that is going to cook down considerably. Okay, you'll notice almost instantly that your kale is going to start to turn bright green. You really have to watch it close at this point because you do not want to overcook it. You want to watch your garlic on the bottom. It's okay if it browns a little bit. You want that nice nutty flavor. As soon as your kale turns bright green, you want to pull it off of the heat. I've turned all the heat off. The heat that's left in the pan is all that it needs. If you cook it past this, it'll start to turn brown. And a little bit of brown is okay. You haven't ruined anything, but just keep that in mind. That's as quick as it is. And you can do it in batches if you have more kale. If you want to serve more than this, you can certainly do so. So that is done. I'm going to let it set aside. See that they brown on one side. really what we're looking for. So I'm going to take that off the heat as well. And now we're just waiting for our pork chops. I think we're about done here with our pork chops. Yeah, here we go. Got a little bit of browning. Kale is ready, and that is all there is to it.